Hello friends, this is Sudhanshu and welcome back to my channel Automation with Ease. Well, today's session is not about the automation though. As you can see what we are going to discuss today. Actually, most of my friends and viewers have asked me to put stuff on Java interview questions because they are starting up with the automation and as we have seen that the programming learning the program and writing program and the oops concept, etc., it is required before you actually jump onto the automation. So from interview perspective also these questions are helpful when it comes to the interview for an automation tester basically. So I have seen friends that the when it comes to the Java interview questions, the question can be as basic as why the main method is always as public static void, and what happens if we remove the public or static from the main method, and how basically it works. So in further sessions, we will mostly cover the OOPS concept, maybe the constructors, etc., the access modifiers, so things like that. In today's session, I'll cover these two things, like why main method is declared as public static void and what is the static keyword. Okay, so quickly jump onto this. So what I have done is I have created a Java project here. There's a default package. I'm going to create a package here. Let's say a package is interview questions. Finish it. I'll create a class, main class. Okay, so see that as soon as we create it, it automatically, the Eclipse automatically create it as a public static void. Why? So as the theory says, if we won't declare it as a public, it would not possible to to access it or to call it. What calls it basically? So as you can see, this is Java virtual machine. Okay, whenever we execute the program, so the JVM tries to check in the class. The first thing it checks is all the static variables, or whatever is there with the static, so it will be loaded. And basically if it is not public, then JVM would not able to access it. So and one more thing, that it always look for the main method. Okay, so whatever we have written within the main, it only gets executed. If there is no main method, it won't be possible to execute a Java program. So let's save it. I'll show you, like, just a minute. Okay, now what happens if you try to run it as this? See, you won't get a option even to run it as a Java program or Java application. Okay, as soon as we put this, it will tell you at least to run it as a Java application. Now we will play around this. Okay, so let's say if we remove it, if we remove the access modifier public, maybe next session I'll cover the access modifiers, but for now it is let's consider that the public is an access modifier. And if we remove it, what happens? Okay, because basically JVM has nothing to it basically don't have access because this method is not declared as public. Okay, let's put it back. Let's remove static from here. Now if the static is not there, there'll be nothing to load. Okay, which means JVM will not have any method to access if it is not mentioned as static. because basically what happens, I'll cover the static part in this question as well. So let's just let's just check the behavior, like what happens. Okay, if I remove the void, see, basically the error will be thrown here because some return type is always, it should be there. Okay, and which is void for the main class. Why void? Again, the return type is void since it does not make sense to have anything else when the Java program, basically when we terminate, when the execution of this program uh, it's terminated, then there's nothing else to call or to return. Okay, so basically there is no point in returning from main method to any other method or class. So that is why the return type is void. Okay, now main method. So as I said, the JVM will always look for the main keyword, the method name is main, then it will pick it. It's a static, public static, and return type is no, then it will pick it. Now why we mention it as a string argument here, and that too array. Okay, because the default pattern of, passing the argument, it is array type. Let's try to change it. What happens if we change it to int type of array? What happens? See, again JVM will not understand it. Okay, if we change it back to string, or just try this as well, only string argument, no, only integer argument, again no. So only array type of argument if you pass as a string array, then only it will understand. Now check if it is there. Yes, it is there, the option to run it as a Java application. So it only accepts the string array as an argument. So sometimes people ask that why we are always writing as a string and array as args, the argument. You can put it anything, this is just a variable. Okay, and there is one more way to do it, is this way. Okay, so there is no hard and fast rule, it's just the name that we always do. So I think as per the theory, after Java 5 it was made possible to declare it both ways, like we can do it like this, and also we can do it like this. Okay, now we will play around this more. Let's say we are writing a program. The first program is always hello world for the beginners. Okay, let's execute it. Fine. Now sometimes the question is asked that can we have multiple main methods, like can we create another main method here? So let's try this. What I'll do basically is I'll create another main method. What will happen? It will say rename method, because you cannot have main method, you can like two main methods in a Java program. It is not allowed in Java. You can probably overload the main method. So overloading is another concept of like another oops concept, so that we may that we will probably learn later, that I'll explain you in later sessions. For time being, what we can do is, if you can see, this is the argument type is string array argument. If I simply remove the array, it accepts. Why? Because here the argument was array. As soon as I remove this, it becomes only the string argument. Okay, So then it is allowed. Basically what is happening, this main method is overloaded here because it is only possible when the arguments are different. Now you can have multiple main methods. The only thing you need to make sure that the argument type should be different. Here if I put it as an integer, it will accept. So let's say I am array, just put it like that only. I am string, I am integer. Now what should happen? Is it gonna execute all of them? What do you think? Because as I mentioned, the JVM will always pick the main method and it will only execute whatever is there in the main method, but public static void main along with the argument as string of the array of string. Okay, now if I execute it, it will only execute this part. It's not gonna it is like you can say the syntax and syntactically it is correct, so the compiler won't throw any error, but Java will not pick this and it will only execute this part over here. Let's try to execute this. See, only this is getting executed. We can probably call this here. Okay, let's say main. Now again another method main. Now there are two main type of there are two main methods apart from just this one. The error is because we have not passed the argument, so you have to match the argument as per whatever you have mentioned here. Okay, so it basically requires that what you're passing here is a string. Okay, Sudhanshu, I am, let's say here I'll say I am what, args. Okay, so we are passing the matching. No matter, you can change the sequence doesn't matter. The type of argument that you're passing is what matters. Okay, now there is again main method, this one. You can use this again and again. A number of time you calls it will be called, and whatever the implementation that you have done in this method will be executed. So here let's say if I want to call this method, okay, the argument is integer, so let's say 10. Now there is no error. If I put it as a string also it will work. Why? Because in that case this basically matches this particular method because it has type string, so it will again re-execute this one. So we want to execute both of our methods, so let's pass one type as integer. Okay, I am, so what will be the output now? I am array, then this method will be called, this will say I am 20, and then this method will be called, it will say I am Sudhanshu. Okay, now let's execute this. See, I am array, I am 20, I am Sudhanshu. So what is happening is we have basically overloaded this method by changing the arguments. So what is overloading? I'll quickly brief you here itself. Maybe we'll cover in later session in details. Method overloading is like a method having same name with different arguments. Okay, so which is called as method overloading. Now you will play around the keyword static, as I told you. Why can't I declare a static variable inside main method in Java? Cannot declare a static variable within any method. Static variable have to be declared as a at a class level. Okay, so these are the thumb rules that you cannot create, you cannot declare any variable as a static within main method or any other method. It should be declared on at a class level. You might have read that the static variables are shared by all objects of that class. Same value is accessed by all objects. Change in value by one object is also experienced by all objects. Okay, so we'll play around this as well now. So basically, let's start with the negative scenario. Let's say what happens if I, so as the static word itself says, I'm static, something is static, right? Static means it's not dynamic, it's not variable, you cannot change it. Okay, so in Java also, sorry, my bad, static int I equals to 10. See, there's an error. Why? It will say illegal modifier for parameter I, only final is permitted. So that is something else, like, you know, that is something else to understand, but basically it's not allowed here. Let's say, so this is not the main class, we have just overloaded it. So let's try to put it here. It will also not accept it because it is only, so basically the question is asked in interviews like, can you mention a static variable inside a main method or some other methods? So the answer is no, it should be declared on a class level. So if I put it here, see, there is no error because I'm putting it inside the class, not in the main method, not in the other methods. Okay, so it is possible here. Now if we have declared the integer I as 10, let's just use it. Okay, if let's say if I'm calling I over here, so basically what happens, this I is being passed over here. Okay, and it will say I am, I means 10, I am 10, right? Now see, it won't be possible if I create a local variable here, and let's say if I'm saying int j equals to 20. Okay, I can still pass j from here, but not from outside this method, not even from here. What it will say, cannot be resolved to a variable. See, because, my bad again. Okay, now it's possible because before we use it, we have to initialize it. So here we are saying that j is equals to 20. It is possible, but even outside this method we are accessing this. Let's say if I say if I use j here, what will happen? Let's see both of the things actually. I and j, what should be the behavior? If I use I, it will simply take it as I, basically because it is static, it is at a class level. If I put j over here, this will not accept it because this method don't know what j is, because j is mentioned as a local variable in this class, in this method, sorry, in the main method. If you mention it over here, it will understand that what j is. Right here it won't understand then because it is not. If I simply put it as j is equals to 10 or maybe 20, it is not then it is not, it is required nowhere because we have made it as a static. If as soon as I remove the static, what will happen? See, it don't know what I and what j is. So that's why whatever I have mentioned. Now again check. Okay, let's execute it and see what is the output. I am array. The second thing, main I means I is 10. So I am 10. Then 20. I am 20. I am Sudhanshu. Then here it is printed 10 and here 20. So basically everything is working. Okay, now what else? Okay, let's say if I change the value of a static variable, can I change it? Let's try to change I is equals to 30. Okay, now what will be the behavior? Here I have to see, these are the uh, what I would say, like whenever somebody asks you the Java questions, uh, they can ask all these things. These are very basics, like when we have started learning Java. So they check your your logic and how thoroughly you have learned the basic things. So they can they can ask n number of things around this. So you should at least have a good base. That is why I am manipulating and explaining things here. So you should have a strong base of like what would be the behavior if I change if I simply manipulate things around my program. Because in the written exam also, we in the written exam for Java also, we have seen that programs like this are written. And because basically here we can execute and see the outputs, but if we just go by the theory, then it's very difficult to understand. So okay, I'll show you what will happen now. So let's understand first that what will be the behavior if I do so. So here I have initialize the static I is 10, but within this main method what I'm doing is I'm changing the value of I to 30. Okay, but here what, because in main I have changed it to 30, does that mean this value of I will be changed for this method as well? For this for the, let's not discuss J, I'm just discussing I. Okay, what will be, let's comment out the J part altogether. Let's even not consider this bit here, just play around this. Okay, this one also comment out. Now the only part is I equals to 10. Here I have overloaded the variable I equals to 30. I'm passing I into the main, this one basically, because it has the argument type as integer. So this will get executed. This will anyways, I don't know. I know, but what I meant to say is this one will not get executed because we are not even calling this. We have commented out this one, right? The string type. So what will happen now is only this method will be executed and the main method also. So let's say in main, what is the value of I, right? Let's execute. See, because we are in the main method itself, we are changing the value I equals to 30, and then we are calling main, right? So within main also it is 30, and from main method itself it is calling it is a 30. But if I simply, this method is being called here, right? So this main method is called, this value here is passing this main. Okay, let's do one more thing. I'll create one temporary method just to explain it in a better way. No argument. I don't want any argument here. I don't want to pass any argument. Just a temp method. Okay, now what is the what will be the value of I in this method? Let's execute, then I'll explain you. Oh, we have not called this. Okay, so since it is a static method, we can simply call this here. See, again, we have declared this method as a static. If as soon as I remove this static, then again I'll have to create the object of a class and call this method, but that is something we can learn later maybe. But for time being, just make it as a static. And okay, now what will happen? Again 30, because we have basically overloaded it in the main method. Let's remove it. Okay, and put it over here. Int I is equals to 10. Let's execute and see. Everywhere it is 10 now. Sorry, my bad. Again 20 should be here because 10 is already there. Why? Because we have, I think, yeah, this is being called, this argument is being passed here, I. So let's remove this. Which method is being called? Temp. So in temp also the value is getting changed. If I would have called this let's say if I would have called this before this method, here I am changing the value of I is equals to 20, right? I'm overloading it, but this argument is being passed here. Just a minute. ten, right? Because at a class level this is being declared as 10, right? If I overloaded it here, okay, this is being passed as a string, so this one is getting executed. That is why I was a bit confused that I must be doing something wrong. It should be here. This method is actually, it's not even called. Let's remove it. It's creating confusion. Now see what is happening. Okay, so I'll explain you now. This main method is called, it is a value of I as 10. So what it does is basically it passes the value of I as 10 over here, but then we have overloaded, right, this variable, or you can say we have overwritten this variable I equals to 20, right? So this I is now 20. So at the first call itself, this is called first, then this is printed, right? So here as soon as the execution started, it started from this line here. Okay, the first thing is called as this one, wherein this particular bit is executed and it has overwritten the value of I to 20. So it has printed it as a 20. Then we have printed the value of I. Why it is 10 here? Because it has picked the value from this, right, which is overwritten later, which is overwritten within the scope of this method here. But as a static, as per the static declaration of I, the value is 10. So as soon as this, as far as this bit is concerned, the value of I is still 10, so it has printed 10. Then it comes to the third method, where it has again picked the value as I from here as 10. So I hope you now understand, like, these are the tricks, and someone might ask you questions around this, like, they can probably give you a program like this wherein they have overwritten the values, and then they will ask you what will be the output. So you don't have to get confused. Just put uh, uh, just try to uh, understand the basics, and you will easily understand how the program behaves and what will be the exact output. So yeah, I think that's it for this session. Maybe in next session we will cover the access modifiers further, like what is public, protected, and private. So basically access modifiers in Java, and further on we will make series of such questions. So friends, I hope this helped you, and uh, if you liked my video, so do subscribe and share my video, and press the bell icon, so you'll get the notification for the next stuff that I'm going to put. Thanks for watching. Bye.